Good morning. I hope you all got a good sleep. You're all ready to go. Batteries are recharged. We were having an interesting talk at breakfast this morning, and I wanted to touch on something. I was listening to an interview by a man named David Foster, who is an impresario. I'll come back to him a little later because he had some interesting observations. But Darren Hardy, the interviewer, president of Success Magazine, was asking him, "So what do you do on the weekends?" And he stopped. You could hear the blank in the tape. And he said, I don't know any successful person who does not work 6 days a week. I don't know any successful person who doesn't work 6 days a week. And sort of led to the conversation. The fact is that if you're an entrepreneur and you're in the right field, you love your work. You really enjoy what you're doing, and therefore doing what you're doing is not work. And because it's not work, because of the path of least resistance, you have a tendency to do it all the time, and to do it and do it and do it, and your day expands. And you know, Dan Sullivan has this wonderful line. He says, every day for an entrepreneur is a potential work day. So therefore, you work on Saturday, you work on Sunday, you work on Monday, you work on your vacations, you work in the evening, you just work all the time. So for you not to work, which is absolutely essential for you to get enough rest, to recharge your batteries, to become creative, for you not to work is much harder than to work. And what Barbara and I love to work. I mean, if you don't slap my hand, I'll just keep working, I'll write books and I'll do articles and so on. So I have to discipline myself and promise Barbara I will take I'll take a day off a week. Now, it'd be nice to take more days off a week, but most entrepreneurs work 6 days a week because they love what they're doing and they're getting good results. And there was a book that came out the other day, it was a few years ago, it was called something about the beauty of the Sabbath or something like that. And it was by a Jewish writer who wrote about the Sabbath and how important it is to incorporate a Sabbath into your busy work week. Now, a Sabbath, if you saw the movie Fiddler on the Roof, which is how much I know, it starts at 6 o'clock on Friday night and goes until 6 a.m. on Sunday morning. So it's 36 hours. And I'm going to suggest to you that you need to discipline yourself, and it takes tremendous discipline not to work for a good entrepreneur. We have to hold ourselves back, like holding the reins of a horse, because we love to work. And so, but you have to stop working because you have to recharge yourself, rejuvenate. You've got to spend more time with your family. You have to exercise. You have to go for walks. You have to smell the roses along the way. So what I'm going to suggest you do is that you resolve that from now on you're going to have a Sabbath every week. And it can start at 6 o'clock on Friday night and end on Sunday morning. Or it can start at 6 o'clock on Saturday night and it can end on Monday morning. But take 36 hours and just take that time and refuse to work. And you'll find that it's hard. So you have to promise the people around you that you're not going to work at this time. You have to plan in advance, and then at 6 o'clock, ka-chunk, stop the work. And just discipline yourself not to work. Now here's the great thing. First of all, you'll soon learn to like it. You'll get into the rhythm of it. The second thing is that you'll be much more productive the rest of your days, the rest of your weeks, if you're fully rested. Remember, I said yesterday, what's the most important work in America? What's the most important work that you do? It is what? Thinking. And thinking is so critical, but it's not just thinking, it's rested thinking. If you can imagine a battery trying to start a car on a cold morning and the battery's dull and it won't start the car. Well, your mind is like a battery as well. It has to be recharged for it to function at really high levels. So rested thinking time is the most precious thing you have. When you take the time to rest, you'll come up with great ideas, you'll solve problems, you'll have insights, you'll be more personable, you'll have more energy. You know that if you start off a day tired, you kind of drag the whole day and you end up doing little useless things. You have no sort of energy to get into those big important tasks, so you end up just working the whole day on your bottom 80%. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? But if you're fully rested, you want to get into something meaty, you want to get into something important. So it's really important that you discipline yourself to take time off, to rest. Now, I've had people in my coaching programs like this for years, and I've explained to them that there is a problem in America amongst business owners. It's called sleep deprivation. About 60–70% of American adults are sleep deprived. They all work for the government, you know. But the point is that we don't get enough sleep. How many people here woke up this morning thinking about when you could go back to bed tonight? No, you know something's wrong here. If the first thing you think of is, when can I go back to bed? I got to get up. When can I go back to bed? And so therefore, you need to get 8 hours of sleep. You need 8 hours of sleep in order to rejuvenate your mind and your body. Your body burns an enormous amount of energy when you are running your business, and you need to rejuvenate. You need 8 hours. And I've had people in my classes who are working on 5 hours a night for week after week, month after month, And I forced them, I asked them to start sleeping 8 hours a night. Go to bed at 10, get up at 6. Go to bed at 10, get up at 6, get 8 hours. And you know what they told me? They came back 90 days later and they said, it was like waking up from a fog. It was like being in a drug-induced fog. And after a week of sleeping 8 hours a night, they could not believe. I mean, their whole world was different. One gentleman lost 22 pounds in that 90 days because if you're tired, you eat a lot because your body's screaming for sustenance. So you're eating all the time, and you're eating not necessarily that good. If you're fully rested, your body doesn't demand that you eat so much food. Especially, it doesn't demand that you eat sugars to give yourself a quick energy hit. Are you with me so far? So just taking 8 hours of sleep a night can change your whole life. You're more personable, you're more relaxed, you're more creative, you're much more effective with other people, your immune system is much stronger, you have more energy, you eat less, you have more energy for exercise. Number one reason that people don't exercise is they don't have the energy. You know, by the end of the day, you're exhausted. Why don't you read in the evenings? Because you're too tired. You know, so just the 8 hours a night will really help you. So I just wanted to pass that on before we begin. Now, this session is, I think, what I call the jelly and the jelly donut. This is really, really important. And we say this, session 2 is offer a great product or service. Session 2 is offer a great product or service. And I would say that 90% of business success comes from your ability to offer a great product or service in the first place. And the reason I mention this is there's an enormous number of entrepreneurs who have been misled. They've been misguided, and they've been told that you can be successful just selling something that people want. No. What are the 3 most important factors in business? I told you yesterday, start with C, rhyme with competition. What are they? Competition, competition, competition. And that means that customers are extremely skeptical and demanding, and it's just like going into the marketplace and you have your product, and with the internet, your product is set next to every other product that is identical to it in the world. I can find out your product and the best price to buy it and the specifications on it in about 3 seconds in Google on the internet. I can throw out a spider. I can do, what is that little piece of software they have where you can find the lowest cost price of your product or comparable products in the world in about 2 seconds? So therefore, I've worked with people who say, well, the secret to my success is to find a customer who doesn't know what else is available. No, they've told me that. Because if they compare my product with what else is available, they never buy my product, not at my price, not at my quality. So they're starting from the wrong end. The fact is, successful business people are really adamant about a quality product. Look at one of my favorite examples of quality products is iPod. It comes out with an iPod. Apple was down to 3% of the world computer market and was basically kind of like a tinker toy market on the side. Good quality products, but not going anywhere in comparison with Microsoft. And then they came out with the iPod. But in order to do iPod, they had to create iTunes, so there was something to download onto iPod. So they created a whole new industry. As we said yesterday, the Sony Walkman is now history. It dominated the world market for portable music. It was gone now. And then people thought, isn't that incredible? iPod, iPod Shuffle, iPod and little, I've got 2 or 3 of them. And then 2 or 3 years later, they come up with the iPhone. They're not even in the telephone business. You think Verizon and AT&T and Samsung and Nokia and others people weren't pissed? You bet they were. They come out with a telephone, and the telephone has just swept the world. They're selling 50 million a year of these telephones. And then they said, well, does anybody want to build apps? They got 350,000 apps. Last year it was 286,000. They got 350,000 apps for your phone now, which makes that phone one of the most incredible things. I don't have one yet. I've got a BlackBerry on Buzz right now. But everybody in my family has an iPhone. Then they come up with the second generation. And remember how everybody was tipped over because there was one little way if you held it on the outside that it kind of interfered with the reception? I mean, the whole world was screaming that there was a quality flaw in the new iPhone. And then people started to use the iPhone and consuming it by the tens of millions. Then what did they do? They come up with an iPad, sold 15 million in less than a year, and changed the whole world. Do you see what happened with Amazon today? Amazon is now selling more books online, e-books, than they are selling real books. And this has taken place in less than 24 months with the advent of the iPad. Isn't that incredible? The whole world is changed. The publishing industry in New York is in disaster conditions. I mean, they're like an impending hurricane coming because book sales are dropping and e-book sales are going up. And many writers like myself are saying, you know, the heck with you guys. I'll just publish e-books. I'll go straight to Barnes & Noble. I have an account on Barnes & Noble. I can give them my own e-book. I don't even have to go to a publisher. And they sell it by e-book. And they sell more by e-book than through publishers. And publishers are sometimes not that easy to deal with. Wasn't that diplomatic, just in case there was a publisher in the audience? So my point is that you have to have a quality product. And if your product is not high quality, you're living on borrowed time. You'll soon be out of time and out of money, and you'll be back on the street working for wages. And so please, it's so important for you to understand is that a quality product is the jelly in your jelly donut. Everything else is bread. It's the quality product. The key then is to find a way to get that product to your customer, and I'll talk about that in subsequent sessions. So we say quality is the key determinant of your growth and profitability. They did a study at Harvard, 22-year study called the PIM study, Profit Improvement Management Strategy or something like that. And they took the best data from over 600 companies and they tracked them for about 22 years. And it was confidential data. These companies gave all their data to the researchers, and the researchers didn't share it. They just shared the averages. What they found was that if you went into a marketplace and you asked customers, what is the highest quality company in this industry? Let's say real estate or jewelry or restaurant or anything else. And people said, well, in my opinion, Morton's is the best restaurant, and Zales is the best jeweler, and so-and-so is the best dry cleaner. If you then looked at their books behind the scenes, you would find that whatever product is purported to be the highest quality was also the most profitable in that industry. They had an interesting test. They did this in Arizona, in Phoenix. They asked them, what is the highest quality department store? And the consensus in Phoenix was Nordstrom's. And Nordstrom's is also the highest profit department store because it has the highest quality perception. The problem with the Phoenix stores, because they compared them with all the other department stores in Phoenix, is there was no Nordstrom's in Phoenix. But people had traveled to California and shopped at Nordstrom stores and went back and told all their friends about how good the experience was, and the consensus was that Nordstrom's was the best even though they didn't have one. So it's like going into the ring and getting knocked out by no other boxer. I mean, all the stores in Phoenix were so tipped over because they lost the quality sweepstakes and there wasn't even a Nordstrom's there. It was just by reputation. So reputation is the most important thing you have, and your product service quality is the key determinant of your reputation. The higher your quality product in the perception of your customers, the greater will be your sales, the greater will be your customer loyalty, the greater will be the referral and the word of mouth and the reputation. And reputation for quality is 85% of your business success. This has to be your obsessive focus, is on having in your area the highest quality. Now people say, well, there's so many competitors in my field. We'll talk about this later. Every person has the ability to be the highest quality in some niche. There's a wonderful thing. When you're a professional speaker, when you start off, you're usually very jealous of all the other speakers because they're making more money than you and obviously not as good as you. There's a little joke in professional speaking. They say, how many speakers does it take to change a light bulb? And the answer is only one. And no, it takes 100. One to change the light bulb and 99 to sit there and say, I could have done it better than that. Now in business, we start off in business and we think there's so many competitors. Well, there's always a way for you, using your creativity, to be the best in your field. And there's a wonderful line, I love this line, is be yourself, everybody else is already taken. And you can be yourself. And this is what I learned in speaking, is that every single speaker can be excellent in their niche. They just have to find and define their niche. And the best companies will tell you, and you look at Good to Great by Jim Collins, and he looks at companies who said, can we be the best in this niche against the kind of competition we're facing in the world? And you know what they said? We can't. We cannot be the best. We cannot win on so we shut it down. And they sold the whole company, sold the plants, the factories, the mills, and everything else, and took the money and went into an industry where they could be the best. Because they refused to try to stay in an industry where they could not excel. And I pass this on to you. It's a moral lesson. I'm not entertaining you with stories. Is you have to say, do I have the ability to be the best in my field? Do I have the knowledge, the skill, the drive, the determination, the love for the business? Here's an important 3 circles from Jim Collins. And this is really, really important for your success and my success. He said the three keys to success in business are, first of all, passion. Now, passion means you love your business. You love your product, you love your service, you love to talk about it, use it, share it, give it to other people. Your greatest experiences are happy customers. There's a lot of people who sell products where the customers don't even care about the customers. Only can I make a buck. But true entrepreneurs, people who are successful, who love their work, have a passion for what they do. If you don't have a passion for what you do, if you don't love the product, you're in the wrong field, because you'll never have the energy necessary to keep on going until you're a big success. Now, the second part of this equation is excellence, is you have the ability to be excellent in this area. You have the capacity to excel. And so there must be something, and excel, by the way, means to be in the top 10%. If you need to be in the top 10% of your field in order to survive and thrive against competition. And the third circle, like this, is profitable. It has to be an area where you can be really profitable if you're really good doing what you really love. And they call this the sweet spot. So this is the sweet spot. And every single company that is successful, prosperous, respected, at the top of their game, and so on, is a company that's found the sweet spot. And finding the sweet spot's not easy. You don't just say, okay, I think I'll find a place where I'm passionate and it's profitable and I can be excellent. You have to experiment and experiment and experiment until you finally find the sweet spot, and then you throw your whole heart into that against your competition, and you're going to have a fabulous life. But until you do, you'll always be struggling, you'll always be worrying about money. You'll always be competing, you'll always be losing sales and blah, blah, blah. Are you with me so far? And so it's interesting, if you ask, and I've done strategic planning with many companies, including the biggest company I ever did was a $72 billion company, where I spent 2 or 3 days in a retreat with their senior executives developing a strategic plan for the future. And the first thing I do in strategic planning, which we'll come to later on this morning, is I talk about values. What are your values? We go through a values clarification exercise. And I've been quite amazed, because the first time I did this was 28 years ago with a $1 billion company, and I still do it with small and large companies. Whenever I go through the values exercise, in every case without exception, you know what the #1 value that the executives around the table agree is their basic organizing principle? Can you guess what it is? Integrity. It's integrity. Now, integrity is big. Integrity is honesty, not only honesty with everybody with whom you deal with, but honesty with yourself. And being honest with yourself is a real toughie. It's real easy to tell the truth to others in a way if you've been brought up well, but to tell the truth to yourself is really important. And that's why you have to say, do I really have a passion for this? Do I have the determination to spend years becoming absolutely excellent in this? And is it profitable? Many people say, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. Yes, but you're going to be poor all your life because nobody's going to pay you any money for it. Yes, but it's my passion. Ah, shut up. You know, people say you want to fulfill your passion, get rich, okay? Get rich doing something that you really enjoy, do it really well, make a lot of money, and then give your own money away. Everybody says, I want to fulfill my passion with somebody else's money. I want you to give me your money so I can fill my passion, actually, so I can pay my bills. Anyway, I'm not going to go there. In fact, I just went. All right. So the key measure of business success, and this is my breakthrough, all right, is how often customers say the words, this is a great product. This is a great product. This is the critical measure that determines your business success, is how often your customers, after consuming your product or service, say, this is a great product. For example, we'd have Infusionsoft. We use it throughout our business. Why? Because it's a great product. We've tried every other type of software that's available there. And even though you may not have fully understood what he was talking about, because I didn't, it's okay. Yet we use Infusionsoft that everybody we know who's competitive uses Infusionsoft because it is just so far advanced. We use Mike Koenig's program because it's just the highest advanced. I'll talk to you about Jennifer Rogerson's personal evaluations and assessments. They're the best in the world. And so always we say, this is a great product. And your job is to get an enormous number of people saying, this is a great product. And we'll talk more about this as we go along, exactly how you can do it. So areas of excellence is a really interesting exercise we're going to do. The market only pays superior rewards for excellent products and services. Oop, I hope I didn't jump ahead here. I did. Okay. All right. I'm going to ask you to go to the exercise, which is on page 56. It says, offer a great product or service. It says here, quality is what your customers say it is, all right? Your quality rating is the percentage of the time that your product or service does what you say it will do. Now, you heard about quality management, quality circles, quality ratings, and so on. Basically, if your percentage of quality is how often you fulfill your promises. You say, if you buy my product or service, you come to my restaurant, I will give you an excellent experience in terms of food quality and service. And the percentage of times that you do that is your quality rating. And your goal is what? What is your goal? What's your percentage goal? 100%. You want 100% of your customers to be happy as pigs, and you know what? After they've used your product or service. And so you'll find that really successful business people are hypersensitive to any unhappiness on the part of their customers. They want their customers to be happy. And if their customers aren't happy, they take it so personally, they'll change it, they'll alter it, they'll give refunds, they'll do anything because they know that happy customers are the key to the future. Happy customers are the future. There is no future without happy customers. So I want you to answer these questions. And I'm going to explain them a little bit. Number one is, what exactly do you sell? And when you describe your product or service, you do not mention your product or service. You only mention the outcome or result or transformation that takes place in your customer's life or work after using it. So for example, if you are selling life insurance, you wouldn't say, I sell life insurance. You would say, I sell peace of mind and financial independence. I sell freedom from worry and care. I sell the ability to plan your estate effectively so your family is taken care of. You don't even mention the product. And whenever you ask this question, what exactly do you sell, the great question of all in business is always answered in terms of what it does to change and improve the life of your customer. Not what you sell, but what it does. All right? Now, number two is, what does your customer consider value? What change or transformation in their life do they want and they're willing to pay you money for? They want their life to be easier, to be more secure, to want to be wealthier, to want to be healthier, to want to be happier. In infomercials, there's three things that sell in infomercials. Can you guess what they are? More money, more beauty, better health, or better fitness. More money, more beauty, or better health and fitness. And so therefore you'll find the infomercials that work offer to make you more beautiful, make you more money, or make you fitter, or thinner, or the abdomizer, or whatever else it happens to be. Are you with me so far? There's even people who sell exercise programs on television. Can you imagine doing something like that? Actually, we've got one of the top sellers of exercise programs in the world in this room today. So number three is, what does your product service achieve, avoid, or preserve for your customer? Really good ways of thinking. Which of your products or services sell the most easily and are the most popular? Which one do customers like the most? What are the best compliments you receive from your happy customers? This is really important because your happy customers will tell you what you need to do more of to get even more happy customers. They will tell you that almost like an unerring feedback. They'll tell you what you need to do, what you're selling that's really good, what people want, and so on. What do your products or services offer to your customers that make them superior? And this is important. Competition, competition, competition. You've got to be superior, and you need to be usually superior in three different ways. It's called the law of three in product quality. Is you've got to be better, faster, cheaper, more convenient, easier to get, better priced, better terms. You've got to look for three different ways where your product or service excels and is superior to your competitors. If a customer said to you, how come I should buy from you rather than from someone else? You'd say, because of this. Bang, bang, bang. There's three reasons why it's better to buy from me than someone else. And if you don't know what they are, it's almost impossible to sell. And we'll come back to this several times today. Okay, number 7 is 20% of your features and benefits account for 80% of customer satisfaction. What are they? If your best products were perfect in the minds of your customers, how would they be different from today? If your best products cause customers to say, geez, this is a great product. Woo, this is a great service. Geez, this is a gret company. If that would trigger that response from your customers, what would your product or service contain? You've got to think about this. There are certain thinking skills that only you can do. What are your core competencies in your business that enable you to produce excellent products and services? That means, what are the special skills that you have that makes your business outstanding? Every business starts around core competencies. It could be the competency of selling. I know people who are so good at selling, they just find an excellent product that they can put into their production line because they can sell like a dam. So that's their core competence. And somebody's core competence is technology. And somebody else's core competence is that they're absolutely excellent in a particular area that's important to customers. What is your core competence? What is the core around which your business was built to start with? What skills, abilities, knowledge, or capabilities will you need in the future to produce great products and services? Remember, sometimes you're just lacking one skill that you can either learn, or you can buy, or you can rent, or you can get from someone else. But sometimes the lack of the one skill is like the weak link in the chain that causes the whole business to break. And you have to be honest. What is it that's holding me back? Maybe you're not a good marketer. Maybe you're not a good salesperson. Maybe you're not really good at tech. But all of these are what kind of skills? They are what kind of skills? They are learnable skills, buyable skills, rentable skills. So you can get them as long as you're honest. What products or services should you abandon or discontinue because you cannot achieve excellence in those areas? What should you abandon or discontinue? And remember, 20% of your products and services every year need to be abandoned. In 4 or 5 years, about 60, 70, 80% of your products and services need to be abandoned or completely upgraded because they're just not good enough in a competitive market. Many people will run themselves right into bankruptcy, distress, and suicide, continuing to try to sell a product whose time has come and gone. But because they like the product and they think it's a good product, and in the past people liked the product. I used to be the world champion salesperson of cassette learning programs. Try to sell a cassette learning program today. I had a warehouse full of cassettes, and I spoke in Africa about 3 or 4 years ago, and I wanted to help the people in Africa, so I offered to send them piles and piles, thousands of dollars of these cassettes. All they have to do is pay the shipping charges. They came back and they said, we only want CDs. We don't want cassettes. It's Africa. You're a third world country. For Christ's sakes, you should be at least have some Walkmans out there. No, they didn't want it. I couldn't give my cassettes away to Africa because the time had come and gone for cassettes. And many of us are trying to sell a product or service, and the customers don't want it anymore. They want something newer, better, faster. Try selling a Sony Walkman today. Nobody will buy it because of what Apple has done to the world market. And finally, what 3 things could you do starting today to trigger the response, this is a great product from your customers? What one action are you going to take immediately? Please begin. Amazing darn thing. I made a recommendation to Morton's. I said, you know, if you go to a first-class restaurant in Paris, which are some of the best restaurants in the world, the very first thing they do is they come to the table and they offer you champagne to start your dinner. I said, why don't you do that here? And they said, well, we talked about it for years, and we talked about it. So I wrote them a letter to the senior management. And now, if you go into Morton's, first thing they do is they come and say, would you like a glass of champagne to start your dinner? Now, champagne is anywhere from $10 to $20 a bottle, but a glass of champagne makes people happy. It's bubbly. It makes people feel good about being here. It makes them less price sensitive to everything else that's on the menu. They spend more for wine, more for dinner, more for dessert, and everything else. One little thing, one little suggestion. And so I gave them the suggestion. They followed the suggestion. Where do you think I go for dinner all the time? Go to Morton's. What's the first thing they offer me when I get in? It's like a glass of champagne. You know, in others, but if you do what your customers tell you, it's astonishing how much more loyal they will be. Now, please turn to the people at your table and tell them your answer to that one question. What one thing are you going to do differently to trigger the response, wow, this is a great product, okay? What are you going to do differently? Please begin. Remember, developing a great product or service is a moving target. As soon as you have a great product or service, your competition will copy you and leapfrog. So all of business is leapfrogging, is you get in front and your competition will immediately and aggressively leapfrog you. You've got to leapfrog them. And don't waste a single second saying, hey, that was my idea first, because today people will steal an idea that will generate a sale faster than you can think of it. And so therefore you've got to constantly be leapfrogging. You have to be constantly saying, what's my next miracle? What am I going to do next? And a quality product is the key. Now I want to talk now about areas of excellence. And areas of excellence ties into the quality product. The market only pays superior rewards for excellent products and services, and your goal is to be the best. And to be the best means you want to be in the top 10% in your field. You want to be recognized as in the top 10%. Now, one of the things that we do with companies, and it's done nationally, is you do a quality rating. And you ask yourself, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you compare in quality to your competitors? Who would you say is number 1 in your marketplace? In hotel industry in the United States, what is the #1 hotel chain in the United States? No, it's Ritz-Carlton. Ritz-Carlton has won every single award for 15 years, and they didn't do it by accident. They're rewarded the best, the most hospitable, the most not the most convenient, the most gracious, the fastest service, the greatest return business, and so on. Do you know what the motto of Ritz-Carlton hotels is? It is, ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. So the whole management philosophy is they treat every staff member as a lady or a gentleman. And they, in turn, treat every guest as a lady or a gentleman. And people go there, and the level of service, they make you feel really important. They charge you an arm and a leg, but they make you feel important, and even when the market is down, the Ritz-Carltons are full because they have striven to be the #1, and they're also the most profitable hotel chain. Surprise, surprise. So let us say on a scale of 1 to 10, you're honest now, integrity. You say, well, in the market, we're probably about a 6 compared to our best competitors. So then what is your strategy? Your strategy is, how do we go, not from 6 to 10, how do we go from 6 to 7? That's all you worry about, is improving your quality rating by 1 grade. That alone can double your profits. And then once you get to 7, and in all honesty, you say we're at about a 7 in the market, then you go for number 8. Then you go for 9 and 10. Many companies will take 5 to 7 years to get from an average of 5 to a 10. It'll take them that many years, take 1 a year, and that is great progress. And once you get there, you're now the world champion. You've got to hold your belt. You've got to be constantly getting better and better because the competition is going to try to tear your heart out. But your goal, if you do not strive for quality, here's the rule. It's a default setting. If you do not strive for quality, you accept mediocrity. If your goal is not to be the best, then by default, you become average or mediocre. In other words, it's not something like you're going to wake up one morning and say, geez, we're good. No, you're going to be good because you woke up every single morning for years, focused and driven and determined to be excellent in your particular part of the business. And if you ever slow down, it's like being in a race, in a marathon, and you're racing and you're way out there, and you decide to slow down and sort of rest a little bit. What happens to the other runners? They just go, whoosh, and you'll never catch up. So once you begin in this business, they say, when does the competition stop? When you retire. Stops when you retire. Which brings us to the areas of excellence. And I'll give you just a very simple example. Sometimes one area of excellence is all you need. Some years ago, there was a young guy working at a pizza place in East Lansing, Michigan. And it was not far from the University of Michigan, the East Lansing campus. And they delivered pizzas. And so he would deliver pizzas to students at the campus. And every time he got there, which is about an hour and 15 minutes after they'd placed the order, the students were mad. And they'd take the money, they wouldn't give him a tip, and why does it take so darn long to get a pizza, and so on. So he got this idea, an insight, that when people order pizzas, they're already hungry. And you know what you're like when you're hungry. They're hungry now. They didn't order the pizza in anticipation of being hungry in an hour. They're hungry now. They want food now. And he also came to the second conclusion that when people are hungry, speed is more important than quality. So he took and he sold his Volkswagen. He rented a bankrupt pizza place that had an oven. He used his experience to realize that about 80% of all the pizzas ordered were 10-inch pizzas, and they were of 8 different varieties. So he pre-prepared pizzas, which had never been done before, because he said to his people he's working for, why can't we get these pizzas faster? Well, every pizza has to be pre-prepared and put in the oven and then cut up and then boxed and then put in the car and then sent out and everything else. So what he did is he pre-prepared pizzas so that, and he only offered 8 pizzas, but he said this, if you order a pizza from us, it'll be there in 30 minutes or it's free. Now, on a university campus, do you think that would be an appealing marketing plan? Do you think that he got every single order for every single pizza that anybody wanted for the next? What he did is he started a little company and he called it Domino's. Before the dust had settled, Tom Monahan had 8,000 Domino's pizzas around the world, delivering pizzas through sophisticated computer networks. Wherever you were in the city, you phoned in and the order went straight to the pizza restaurant that was closest to your home, so it would be there in 30 minutes. He sold out and retired with $1.8 billion. Pretty good idea for an insight, wouldn't you say? Pretty good money? All his conclusion was, speed is more important than quality when people are hungry. Now, one little insight like that is, you know something? There's not another pizza restaurant in the world has ever tried to match Domino's fast delivery. They say, oh, we can't do that. It's too hard. have to change all our systems. Our people wouldn't stand for it. And so Domino's just walked away. And even when everybody knew, they just walked away with speed. Now they're coming back with quality. You see all those ads? Oh, we take wonderful quality. Oh, sure you do. So what I want you to do is I want you to fill out this exercise in terms of area of excellence. And we'll talk about the product. My product is superior to that of my competitors in the following ways. By the way, you absolutely have to know this. If it's not superior and you don't know why it's superior, then it's impossible to sell to a critical customer. In what ways could it be superior? And imagine a magic wand. Remember our magic wand? Imagine you could wave a magic wand and you could make your product superior. In any way, what would it be? Don't say we couldn't afford that and we tried that before or it would take too much. No, just say if it was superior, what would it be? So it could be superior in this way. My services to my customers are superior, and they could be superior. My people in my company are superior, and the ways we could be superior in the way that we treat our customers. Location, the places we serve our customers are superior, is our facilities could be superior if they were. Convenience, it's more convenient for our customers to buy from us because it would be easier if we were to do this. Responsiveness, we respond to our customer needs faster than our competitors, and we could do it faster still. And our prices, charges, fees to our customers are superior to our competitors in the following ways. Our prices would be superior if we did this. Our quality would and could be, our promotion, our processes, our reputation, and if you could wave a magic wand and improve any part of the business, what would it be? The three most important improvements I could make right away are this. And what change or improvement am I going to implement immediately? Please begin. Okay, please stop. Now, you've heard the old saying, the more you do of what you're doing, the more you get of what you've got. And the other saying is if you don't change the road you're on, you probably get to where you're already going, or all those different things. The fact is that the natural tendency and one of the biggest enemies that we have for success is the comfort zone. We get into a comfort zone and we're comfortable doing things in a certain way, and it's very hard for people to get out of a comfort zone. We brush our teeth the same way, we get ready for work the same way, we make our coffee the same way, we dress the same way, drive the same way, and you really have to force yourself out. And the way you force yourself out is keep asking, how could we do it better? Because remember, whatever is acceptable today will be surpassed by your competition tomorrow. So you have to keep raising the bar on yourself. And you keep asking for yourself, how can we make it better? How can we serve our customers better, faster, easier, cheaper? How can we be superior to our competition in some way? And if you don't ask the question, you won't get the answer. And the natural tendency is you'll slip right back into the warm bath of the comfort zone, and you'll keep on doing it the way you were doing it until your business closes up. And your competition just steamrolls past you. So remember, you're in competition, you're in a race. You've got to be continually getting better, because if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. If you're not improving, you're not staying the same, you're actually falling back. So keep thinking about that. Please turn to the people at your table and tell them what your one action is going to be as a result of this exercise. What are you going to do to be better, faster, cheaper than anybody else who's competing with you? Please begin. Now remember, we want you to get the very greatest value out of everything that we do. So I've asked you to pull this out from page 226 and have it handy so that you write down your action commitment each time and even other actions that you think of doing. So you capture it. Remember, if you think it, ink it. Write it down here, because this will be your most important take-home. You'll walk home with 10 or 15 and lots of room to write more on the back. But these are going to be your action exercises, which are going to change your business and change your life. One of these ideas, when you refer to it later, you can say, oh my God, if I do that, it'll double my income. It can literally take you from rags to riches. Remember, the most valuable thing in the entire world is ideas. And the quality of ideas is in direct proportion to the quantity of ideas. The more ideas you have, the more likely it is you'll have the great idea that changes your business. And that's why some people just literally go from rags to riches. One, you know, the Kindle Voss people who are suing Mark Zuckerberg, They got $50 million because they say they gave him an idea to have, and he said it was a social dating site was their idea. He went off and he started Facebook. And now he's become one of the richest men in the world with one little idea. You see the movie Social Network? He had a little conversation at the Harvard Club, and he went away with that idea, and he came up with his own idea. It's worth making him one of the richest men in the world. One idea. The technology exists. It's just the idea. So, but keep stimulating ideas. So write them down, write them down, write them down. And when you write them down, you psychoneuromotor activity, file them into your subconscious mind, which works on them 24 hours a day. And so you unlock your mental powers, which I'm going to talk to you about right now. Now, if you'll notice on page 64, 64, where it says offer a great product or service, it says here, identify your target market, pump up your profits, finding ideal customers. Those are the video-based lessons with workbooks and exercises that you have access to with Business Growth Strategies. We have given you access to about $1 million worth of the finest business training in the world, and it's yours to use for, 6 months, 12 months. But what you can do is, if this subject is important, when you get back, plug in. It tells you exactly what to do here. Go to businessgrowthstrategies.com, plug in the name of the session, pull it up, and there will be me, full screen, teaching you this subject in depth. Also, there will be an outline of all the keynotes from this session, plus there will be a series of questions like the ones you've been asking, plus an action commitment. So at the end of every session, there's a series of lessons that you can take to reinforce and even redouble what you learned in this session. If you decide, as we talk about marketing later, that marketing is really big for you, take all the follow-up lessons on marketing, because they will expand and add to what we're doing here. Remember, you cannot get too smart in running your business in a highly competitive world. You just can't get too smart. You just can't have more mental tools than necessary. So keep adding, because you never know which one it can be that can transform your business life. So just keep scooping ideas. Are you with me so far? Say yes. All right. No pikers. Anyway, this man immigrated from Europe to the U.S. and moved out to the West, and he got a job chopping wood. It was 100 years ago, and he chopped wood, and he made his living chopping wood, taking it into town and selling the cords of wood as firewood for people who lived in the village. And every day he'd go out and he'd chop wood, and he'd come back with his wood, and he would sell it. And one day he was at the hardware store looking at getting another axe, and they said, well, they've invented a brand new contraption in the big city. It's called a chainsaw. And this chainsaw, you'll cut 2, 3, 4, 5 times as much wood with a chainsaw as you will with an axe. And he said, and it's guaranteed. He said, well, geez, that's great. So he said, here it is. It's beautiful. And look, for one of the first chainsaws. So he bought it with his limited funds, and he went off to the woods that day and gone all day. And he came back at the end of the day, and this chainsaw, he's got the chainsaw, and he's really mad. He's tired, and he's sweaty and dirty, and the chainsaw is all beat to pieces, and the blade is all bent and twisted, and the paint's off it, and he puts it down, and he said, this is a waste of time. He says, the worst thing I ever seen. He said, I only cut about a half a cord of wood all day. He said, this is no good. He said, well, the hardware store guy said, geez, he said, I'm sorry you feel that badly. I mean, this is a brand new piece of machinery. It's unconditionally guaranteed. He said, I'll give you another one. So he gave him another one. Second one, and he went out, and he was gone all day, came back into the second day, and he's so mad. He said, look at this, and it's all broken and beaten and battered and twisted, and the saw links are broken. And he said, I cut even less than a half a cord today. He said, this is a big cheat. He said, well, I can't understand why you're having so much trouble. And he said, I could give you another chainsaw. He said, but maybe just you could show me how you're using it. Maybe you're not using it right. He says, let's go out in the wood yard. So go out in the wood yard, and he puts the chainsaw on a log, and he grabs the cord, and he goes, run! And the guy says, what's that noise? What's that noise? The point is that many times we're running a business, and the way to run the business much, much better is just like turning it on, using it the way it's supposed to be done. And that brings us to our session today we call Design a Great Business Plan. Now, I really emphasize this. The Inc. magazine did a study of 100 business startups, and 50 of the business startups had detailed business plans before they began. They sat down and they thought through every part of the business, thought, thinking, And then they began their business. 50 of them did not have business plans. They had ideas off the seat of their pants, a couple of things scrawled on paper, and so on. They went back after 2 years. 49 of the 50 out of the 50 companies with business plans were thriving. They were moving along, making great progress. Most of the companies for the 50 that did not have business plans had gone broke. They disappeared, or they were struggling and on the verge of bankruptcy. So they went back and they asked the people who had used business plans, 49 out of the 50, they said, did you follow the business plan every day? I mean, was it like a roadmap that you watch, like you check your email? They said no. Once they did the business plan and they'd all agreed upon it, they put it in a drawer. They didn't look at it until the end of the year when they developed their new business plan based on the new current reality. So it was not the business plan that was important. It was the business planning that was important that the plan required. And Dwight D. Eisenhower, after D-Day, was asked, he spent something like 2 years planning the Normandy invasion. He said the plan was nothing. He said the planning was everything. From the day we hit the beaches, everything, the whole plan changed, but we had thought through every detail. And it takes tremendous discipline to plan. So I've tried to make it simple for you. I'm doing 3 things. I'm going to give you the essence of a business plan in our talk today before lunch. And at the very back, I have put in several pages of business planning. Fill in the blanks. It's called the appendix. And this appendix is the best that I've ever done. And not only that, at the end of this session, you will find recommended 3 programs that you can use. There it is. 3 programs: planning for success, developing your business plan, and creating your business systems that you can actually review online. They're courses that I give, video with workbooks and everything else. But please, it is so important. You make a list before you go grocery shopping. You make a business plan before you launch. I have a good friend who started with nothing. He's now worth probably $50 to $75 million. It's hard to tell because he's got businesses and hotels and office buildings, and I'm a partner with him in one of his projects. Wonderful man, wonderful business partner. And he decided to go into a business, which I was very familiar with, and he spent 6 months. He has accountants, he has his lawyers, and he has his leg people. Spent 6 months studying the business, getting financial plans, doing mock-ups, putting together business plans and everything else. At the end of 6 months, he said, we're not going to do it. We're not going to go into this business. It's just does not have what we need. It does not have barriers to entry. It does not have economies of scale. It does not have opportunities for growth. It does not have gaps in competition. And so after 6 months of business planning, at the bottom line was, no, we're not going to do it. And it turned out to be a very smart decision on his part. Sometimes the best business deals are the deals that you don't do at all because you did the planning and you analyzed it carefully and you thought it through. And you know the old saying, you can't get there from here. And you realize at the end of the planning process, you can't get there from here. The reason that businesses suffer, struggle, go broke in such huge quantities, 80% of businesses in the first 4 years, is because they didn't think it through in the first place. And what they did is they went after it like a dog going after a passing car. And at the end of the day, they're sitting there and they're mired in debt and confusion and problems and betrayals and everything else. And what happened? They never thought about it. Now, then I told you I worked for Dr. Allard. When Dr. Allard asked me to take over this particular potential business, he asked me to put together a business plan. As it happened, I had just completed that MBA program at the university, so I knew how to put together a business plan and do the financial analysis, the marketing analysis. I knew how to do the research. I did the competitive research, what else competition was offering, how much they were charging, how much we would have to pay from our distributor, how much it would cost, and so on. And I came up with a business plan that was like a classic business plan. We took it to the bank, and the bank lent us $2 million, advanced us $2 million to start this business against the plan, and we hit every single number in the plan. And I made more money from the profits from that business at one time than I ever made in my life. It was the most amazing, changed my entire career when I learned that there's a system and a methodology of starting and building a successful business. And if you don't follow it, you fail, and if you do, you succeed. And nature is neutral. Nature doesn't say, thou shalt succeed and thou shalt not. Nature's blind, like justice. Nature just says if you do the right things in the right way and you think through the various aspects of the business, then you dramatically increase your likelihood of succeeding. Never a guarantee, but sometimes if you do the business plan well enough, you won't get into it. And that's real smart. The smartest things you ever do in business are the things you don't do at all. Just remember that. So let's talk about the business plan. You've got the material here. You've got the additional sessions. It's a little bit of a slog, but as you start to get into it, you really like it. Why? It's because it forces you to think. about each part of your business before you start spending money and time and life and energy and so on. So we say that your ability to plan and organize every detail of your business is essential to your success and profitability. Highest paid work in America is thinking. A business plan forces you to think. There's a company, by the way, called Palo Alto Software. Has anybody heard of Palo Alto? They're the biggest business plan sellers in the world. You go on, you subscribe, you pay several $100s or more to them. And what they do is they ask you what industry you're in, then you go through the industry you're in, you look at businesses that are similar, and they'll provide you with a proven business plan for that industry. And you pay several $100s for it, and then you fill in the blanks. And you fill in the blanks and you print it, and there you've got your business plan. It's a more sophisticated than I just described to you, but they have 350,000 customers of business owners who decided to use their services to create a business plan rather than just running off, operating off the seat of their pants. So the potential consequences of your thinking makes thinking the most important and valuable activity you engage in. One of the biggest regrets we have in life is we say afterwards, if only I had thought about that a bit more, I wouldn't have done it. If only I had gotten more information, I wouldn't have done it. If only I had asked somebody for advice, I wouldn't have done it. Are you with me so far? In other words, only if we had better thinking tools, we probably wouldn't have done it. So thinking is everything, and you need something to think with. You need facts, details, information. Normal thinking process is this: stimulus, response. This is how most people think. They have a stimulus, they hear a piece of information, and they respond. However, the superior thinking process is this: there is a stimulus, and there's a response, and in between, there's a thought. Now, what takes place in the thought phase largely determines your success or failure, happiness or unhappiness in life. And that's why people say, before you do anything, stop and think for a while. Give it a few minutes. Big decisions should be slept on. Big decisions should be talked about, discussed. You should get information. Never make important decisions impulsively. Back off. I studied one of my subjects, which we'll talk about later, is how to hire, how to fire, and so on. And in my research, I came across a story of a sales manager who was very successful because he had such an incredible track record of hiring winners that drove sales, that made his business a big business. And they said, "What's your secret?" He said, "I never hired anybody within 30 days of deciding I liked them." He said that 30-day period, he would just wait and see what happened and meet with them again, talk with them again, and so on. Never be rushed into a hiring decision. He said over 30 days, it would become clear if it was a good choice or not. So he said, I just used the 30-day rule. It made him one of the most successful and highest paid people in his industries, just by waiting, by thinking carefully before hiring someone in the first place. And that's a really important point. So the key is responsibility, is you have stimulus and you respond. Your ability to respond effectively is really the key to your success in life. Design a great business plan. Here are the parts of a business plan. Remember we said before, values. What are your core principles? Usually the number one is integrity. And the integrity internally is honesty. And integrity expressed externally is quality. And then another one might be innovation. Another one might be entrepreneurship. Another one might be customer service. Another one of the companies I worked for, IBM, respect for the individual, is a key value. It's one of the 3 values. They never deviate from that. Is everyone treats everyone with respect, like at Ritz-Carlton. Ladies and gentlemen, taking care of ladies and gentlemen. That is a core value that you can't violate. So thinking through your values, which you'll have a chance to do in a minute, is really important. Second of all is your vision. And this is your ideal picture of the future business. If you could wave a magic wand and project forward 5 years, what would your business look like if it was perfect in every way? You know, you've heard the old saying, you can't hit a target that you can't see. And so therefore, if you imagine, visualize what your perfect business would look like, how big it would be. Harvard Business Review did an interesting study on business, and they said you should begin at the beginning to think, how big do you want your business to be? Do you want it to be small and profitable? Do you want it to be large and have lots of people? Do you want to have multi-office? I mean, think about what kind of business you would like to have. Maybe you'd like to have just a small business that enables you with proper support to maximize your personal income, like a dentist or a doctor or something else. Maybe you want to have hospitals and clinics. I mean, so think about this, is what is your vision of how much do you want to earn? And how big would you have to be, and what would you have to do, and so on, which we'll talk about later. And your mission, the goals to accomplish. Your mission is what would happen at the end of the day for your customers if they used your company. Our mission is to bring about complete peace of mind and financial independence for each of our clients. That's our mission. How do you know if you fulfilled your mission? Your clients tell you that you did. So what is your mission and now your purpose? What is the reasons why your business exists? Now, Brendan was saying this, and other people say it. The why has to be because this makes you happy. It's your passion. It's fulfilling a goal. It's a dream that you have. I'm a writer, and I wonder if I am really a true writer because I've published 52 books in 38 languages and sold 10 million copies, and with 7 different U.S. publishers and about 25 or 30 international publishers. I'm the best-selling business author in Russia and in China, mostly stolen. But sometimes I wonder because the definition of a true writer is someone who cannot not write. They cannot not write. You cannot stop them from, they must write. Here's Solzhenitsyn in the concentration camps writing the life of Ivan Denisovich on toilet paper with ink that he got from boiling bark and writing the words on toilet paper and smuggling the toilet paper out and eventually putting it into, I mean, he cannot not write. All right, so, and I cannot write. I can stop. I can't really stop, but I think I can. I keep meaning to stop, but I keep publishing 4 books a year, and every time I publish a book, I get an idea for 2 more books. Anyway, my point is that if you're doing something that you're doing, it's you have a passion for it. You want to do it. You cannot not do it. This is what you're designed to do. You just love to do it. You love to do it even if you don't get paid for it. If you're doing something because you're forcing yourself to do it just because of the money, you'll never be successful. If you're doing it because you care about the people you're doing it for, then your chances are great. So we say excellent leadership and management is essential for a good business plan. Who's going to be the leader? Who's going to be in charge? Excellent products and services, we talked about that. 90% of success, maybe 95%, will be that you have a great product to start with. Excellent reputation in the market, which flows from great products and great services. And solid financials. Whew. And the financials are so important. This is what Dr. Allard forced me to do, is not only did he force me to design financials that cover the next 18 to 24 months of the businesses, but then he would turn them over to his accountants, and his accountants didn't like me because I was kind of like the, what do they call it, the golden boy in the company, and Dr. Allard was giving me all kinds of stuff. So they would tear my financials to pieces in order to embarrass me and humiliate me. And they did once or twice because I didn't like financials, so I didn't check the numbers, and I got decimal points in the wrong place. Very bad to get decimal points in the wrong place. And they came back on me, so he forced me to be really, really accurate because with the accuracy, I submitted to him a pro forma, a business plan for a project, and I'd gotten 1 decimal point out. I'd projected 15% returns, and the decimal and the decimal point after his accountants had done the numbers were 1.5% returns with very high risk. It was a multi-million-dollar project, and that just about sunk me in that company because I had recommended that we go ahead, and they were about to go ahead until they had it double-checked. So double-checking is good. Yeah, real good, especially if it's your own business. Okay, intense focus on marketing and sales in business. That's really the core activity is the marketing and sales. Intense customer focus to get them to buy and buy again. Excellent people at all levels. That's really important. One poor person in a key position can be fatal to you. And high trust levels. This is one of the things that I really am concerned about in any business is that everybody trusts each other. If everybody trusts each other, it acts as a lubricant to high performance. So, So what I'm going to do is ask you to do this exercise, design a great business plan. And the exercise is very simple. Start off and say, what are the core values and principles that you and your business stand for and believe in? And they can be as simple as integrity, quality, customer service. You can go a long way with those 3. You can have more than 3. Some companies have 5, but just think about your 3. If your business was perfect in every way, what would it look like in the future? How much would you be earning? How big would your business be? What kind of geographical expanse, and so on. What is your mission for your business? Our mission is to do what for our customers? Your method, we achieve our mission by doing this. And your measure, we measure our success by achieving these numbers. So you could say, our mission is to profoundly change our customers' financial lives. We do this by giving them excellent advice, counsel, and guidance, and we measure our success by having a growth rate of 25% per annum from satisfied customers. That's a mission. A child can understand the mission. Why are you in this business at all? Why did you choose this business rather than something else? I've had many people who've come through this course. You know what they say? After all this, you know something? I shouldn't be in this business because I don't really care about it that much. Somebody else talked me into it because they said it was a great way to make money. It was a business of the future. So I decided to get into it because I want to make a lot of money. And I realized I got no passion for it. I get up in the morning and I rue going to work. Do you know when the greatest day for suicides, for heart attacks, the greatest time for heart attacks in the United States and Canada is right now? Monday morning. And you know what the greatest number one time for suicide is? Monday afternoon. Why? The person gets up on Monday morning and they think about going to that job that they hate for another whole week, and their heart says, they say to their subconscious mind, I hate that work, and your heart says, okay, boom, and takes you out. Freud once said that everybody chooses the time and place of their own death, time and method of their own death. And so then if the heart attack doesn't take you to work, by the afternoon you say, I'm still doing this stinking job, blam. So that's the 2 high days. And by the way, all the emergency vehicles, ambulances, everything else are all ready to go Monday morning for the heart attack brigade. And then Monday afternoon, the police are ready to do the investigation for the suicide brigade. And it's almost always because a person is looking forward at doing something that they hate. You know that Carly Simon song, Is This All There Is? And they finally say, hey, it's not for me. I have to work with people I don't like, selling products I don't care about, to people I dislike, for wages that are below what I'm capable of earning. Oh, what the heck, give me a gun. All right. Down to Walmart, okay. So the 3 most important leadership or management qualities we have or need to have are what? And what are the qualities? We've talked about that. Clarity, result orientation, determination. The best, highest quality products and services that we offer are these. Because of our excellent reputation, the best things people say about us are these. The 3 areas where we are or should be leaders in our market are these. The 3 most important areas of focus for our marketing and sales activities are, in other words, what are your very best potential customers and markets? We focus intensely on serving our customers well by doing these 3 things. Quick responsiveness, fast resolution of complaints, speedy delivery. I mean, what are they? The 3 best qualities of our staff are, or should be, is they're competent, they're friendly, and they're customer-oriented. I'm just planting thoughts for you. We encourage our people to be open and honest, especially in these 3 areas. Dealing with each other, dealing with customers, dealing with money, whatever. And what one action are you going to take immediately? Please begin this exercise. Answer those questions. You've all heard of the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule says 20% of what you do accounts for 90% of your results. There's also the 90-10 rule. 10% of what you do accounts for 90% of your results. You've heard of the old saying, a stitch in time saves 9. The rule is that for every minute you spend in planning, you'll save 10 minutes in execution. 10% of the time that you spend thinking through everything you're going to do before you begin will save you 90% of the time, expense, and mistakes of actually doing it afterwards. So it is an investment of time, and some companies, some individuals will spend many hours, even weeks, preparing a complete, detailed business plan, and as you'll learn in the other materials, checking and making sure that your assumptions are correct and your numbers are correct. Make sure that the market is there. Make sure people will pay that price. Make sure that you can outsell your competition. Don't ever accept anything on faith in your business plan. Imagine you're going to have to take it to a real tough venture capitalist, and they're going to sit you down with eyes as cold as death, and they're going to make you validate every single point in your business plan. Prove it. Prove that this is a true number and not just a hoped-for number, a wished-for number, an assumed number, a wouldn't it be wonderful if number. So imagine you're going to have to speak to a real tough person who you're asking for money to, and they're going to say, where did you get this number? What is it based on? How can you validate or prove the number? So you impose that discipline on yourself, and your quality of your thinking goes up dramatically, and the quality of your results goes up dramatically. So now turn to the people at your table and tell them the one thing you're going to do as a result of this business planning process? Please turn to the people at your table. Okay. Okay, if I could have your attention, please. This is really important. Remember, your ability to think determines the quality of your decisions. The quality of your decisions determines the quality of your actions. The quality of your actions determines the quality of your results. So this is really important stuff. Now, I'm happy to say that we're right on track. We're supposed to stop at 12:45, and it's 12:50. So we're going to have lunch from 12:50 to 1:50, and then we'll start up punctually, right? Punctually, okay. The VIP luncheon is going to be across the street where the VIP breakfast was this morning, and we'll see everybody back in here at exactly 1:50. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful lunch. Thank you. We went through an exercise yesterday where we had each table select a leader. And what I find is that many people have moved around and many tables don't have leaders. And the leader is the person who's supposed to keep the conversation on track and make sure that each person gets a chance to speak and make sure that we don't deviate and start talking about our vacations and our cars and our carbuncles and things like that. So is there a table here that does not yet have a leader? Well, I'll be darned. Thank you so much. All right, good. Then we can start work again. Are you ready to start work? Say yes. Yes. All right. Now, this is my favorite topic, and we call this Create a Great Marketing Plan. And this is really where the rubber meets the road, is the marketing plan. Now you are a leader. You've made the critical decisions about your business. You've developed a business plan. You have thought through the critical parts of what it is that you offer and how you can make it better. And now let's talk about marketing. And marketing is my favorite subject. This is the jelly and the jelly donut of business. Marketing strategy. All business strategy is marketing strategy. In other words, everything we do in the business has to do with our position in the market. Whether it's finances or technology or people or anything else, it all comes down to helping us sell more. Your ability to attract qualified prospects determines your success in business. So here's a great question. What is the difference between marketing and selling? I see my coming here was an emergency. Marketing is where you get people who want and need and can use and afford your product or service to raise their hand in response to your efforts. Perfect example, you're driving down the highway and there's a big, big sign, a poster board, and it says, "Hungry?" ? Boing. Next one says, "Turn off at Mom and Pop's, Mom and Dad's family cooking at the next outlet, turn right." And there you are, beautiful home-cooked food. In other words, what they do, marketing gets your attention and gets the attention of the person who is a good prospect for you. Selling converts them into a customer. In fact, Drucker's wonderful definition is the purpose of marketing is to make selling unnecessary. If your marketing is effectiveness, look at iPad. Was any selling necessary? The marketing was so brilliant, all they had to do was really announce it with all the bells and whistles, and people just lined up to buy the product because the selling became unnecessary, partially because it was Apple, but partially because of their success in the past. So, you are responsible for making the critical strategic decisions for your business. And the most important decisions you make have to do with marketing. Now, the wonderful thing about business is that you can always measure how good you are, how good your decisions are, how good your marketing is, one way. What is it? It works. The way that you can measure anything in business is it works. It gets the results that you expected or anticipated. So it works. If it doesn't work, then who is responsible if your marketing is not working in your business? You are. Who is responsible? You are responsible. Not the market and not the government and not the competition. You're responsible for making the changes necessary. It's almost like if you go driving and you end up at the wrong address and you're driving and you choose the route and you got to the wrong place, who's responsible? You don't curse the darn house that's got the wrong address at it. What you have to do is you have to make new strategic marketing decisions. And the only answer is, does it work? Is it working? Are your phones ringing? Many years ago, I was working with a advertising agency. It was an interesting story. We were doing a promotion, a big seminar in Grand Rapids, and they had advertisements, 1-minute advertisements on all the radio stations. And he called up my promoters, and he asked them, he said, how's the promotion going? Well, he didn't want to tell them because they were aiming for 1,000 people. They had about 25. The ads were running all the time, and yet they weren't getting any response. His name is Barry LeBoeuf. He's one of the most respected advertising guys in the country today. This was many years ago. He said, so I have only one question for you. Is your phone ringing? And that was the primary method of promotion. They gave the phone number on the ads. And he said, well, he had to admit, no, the phone's not ringing. His name is Bob. The phone's not ringing. He said, well, can I write your advertising for you? Because I've listened to your advertising, and it's lousy advertising. I wouldn't phone, and I like Brian Tracy, and I need a sales seminar, but I wouldn't go because of your advertising. He said, I'll write the advertising, and you can only pay me if it makes your phone ring. And so he did, and it did, and they did. And within 2 weeks, there were 1,000 people in that room. And my promoters basically saved their shirts because they had spent so much money. But the advertisers who'd written the advertisement at the radio stations were completely incompetent. But I always remember that. From now on, the only question you ever ask in any marketing expenditure or effort at all is your phone ringing. Is your internet clicking? Are people walking in the door? Because if they're not, then stop and don't wait. People say, well, if you advertise a little bit longer, it'll start to work. No, advertising is direct response. If it does not cause the phone to ring or the cash register to jingle, stop and do something else and do it fast. And who's responsible for this? You are. So it's really important. And I would ask you today, is your phone ringing often enough? And if it's not, then we need to change some things. Fortunately, we can. Now, competitive analysis. Your competition determines your level of sales, the prices you charge, and how much money you make. Sometimes I will ask business owners, I say, who sets your prices at your company? I do. And who determines how much you sell? Well, we do. And who determines the size of your sales? And we do. And I say, no, your customers determine it all. Your customers will tell you exactly what you can charge. How? Because they will undercharge you. And if you overcharge, then people will not slow down, they'll stop buying altogether. So remember your competition. That's why you have to keep analysis of your competition. In warfare, all strategy is based on what the opponent is likely to do. Are you with me so far? It's what the person you're fighting against is likely to do. You don't make up your strategy in a basement room and go out and implement it. Your strategy is made up based on very, very careful consideration of what your opponent is likely to do. If I do this, will they do that? If I do that, will they do this? If I charge this, will they charge that? And so always think, who is your competition and what are they likely to do if you were to do something else? And because competition will respond like a switchblade very, very fast if they see that you're trying to get their customers. Now, 4 principles of marketing strategy. And number 1, we say your decisions in these 4 areas determine the success or failure of your business. And there's 4 basics, and we're going to talk about something else later. The 4 key marketing principles, number 1 is specialization. If someone were to ask you in what product, service, or market do you specialize, you have to have an answer. Some people say, oh, we do a lot of this and a lot of that and a lot of this, and we're very quickly going broke. Of course you are, because your customers must know that you specialize. Morton specializes in what? Steaks. Morton's Chicago Steakhouse. What does Ruth Chris specialize in? Steaks. What does the fish market specialize in? Seafood. Come on. In other words, one of the smartest things you can do as a small business is make your area of specialization clear in your company name. So a child, the rule is, as Einstein said, a 6-year-old child should be able to look at your advertising and know what you sell and why someone should buy it. And so if your advertising or your name is more complicated than that, then you need to go back and revise it. Many companies will just go back and they say they're going to name their company ABC 26 Services. Why? Well, it's a great name. ABC is the first 3 letters of the alphabet, and that means first, second, and third place, and 26, that's my uncle's birthday, and so I'm going to call it ABC 26 Services. Ah, get out of here. How can a person looking at that figure out what the heck you're in business doing? So it's really important that you think carefully about your name. Now, differentiation. This is the core. We're going to come back to this in a second, is how and why are you different from your competitors? All marketing is differentiation. All sales is differentiation. You must be crystal clear about why it is that your product or service is different and superior to any of your competitors. Someone should be able to wake you up from a dead sleep and slap you in the face and say, how come you're different and better? And you should be able to open your eyes and tell them. And every person who works for you should know with crystal clarity why it is that your product or service is superior. If they don't, then you need to decide what it is, and then you need to teach them. Number 3 is segmentation. Segmentation is you say, based on my area of specialization, Walmart specializes on those people who live from paycheck to paycheck. That determines every location, every staff member, every product, every service, every guarantee, every warranty, every return is aimed at taking good care of people who live from paycheck to paycheck. And that is known from the president of Walmart down to the lowest person on the loading dock knows that these are our customers. So then you say, all right, what is my area of specialization? And in that area, where am I different and better? And then who are the people who most appreciate what I do different or better than anybody else? So if you drive past the sign and it says hungry, but you just ate at McDonald's 20 minutes ago, it's not for you. So that's not your customer. So we'll talk about this later, but what is the question that the owl asks in the deep woods? Who? Who is the biggest single question in marketing? Who is my customer? And what do I have to do to, first of all, attract that customer, and then to get that customer to buy from me, and then to please that customer so they like me so much they buy again and again and tell their friends. We'll come back to all of this. And then concentration. Concentrate all of your marketing efforts single-mindedly on the very best potential customer for what it is that you do better than anybody else in your area of specialization. I said a lot. Don't worry, we'll come back to this later. So let's go through it again. Specialization, this is the product. You can specialize in a product. You can specialize in a service like dry cleaning. You can specialize in a customer, people who live from paycheck to paycheck. You can specialize in a market, a local or a national market. Or you can specialize in an area of technology, Microsoft and software, where you focus all your efforts. And you don't go out of your area of specialization unless you are making so much money doing what you're doing so well that you're throwing up. You have so much money, okay? And other than that, you don't try to be all things to all men. A friend of mine has this wonderful, she calls it the complex. It's MIDC, multiple ideal customer complex. Is where people say, everybody's my customer because I got so many products and services, I can satisfy everybody's big, small, large, poor, rich, everybody. No. That means basically you have no idea what you're doing and you probably should be institutionalized. All right. So be clear. Second of all is differentiation. What is your competitive advantage? In other words, why are you superior? What is the advantage of buying from you than from your competitors? What is your area of excellence or superiority? We talked about this before, and we'll talk about it again. What is your unique selling proposition? This, by the way, there are seminars that will spend a day or 2 days helping you be clear about this because it's so important. But it is, if someone were to ask, what is it about your business, product, or service that makes you unique and different from any other business in the world and is relevant and important to me as a buyer? So we know one thing about the word unique. Unique is an adjective. Unique is a descriptive word. And unique is singular in there's only one type of adjective like unique. Now, and what is that? Do you know what I'm talking about? Well, you can be tall or taller or tallest. You can be big or bigger or biggest. But you cannot be unique, uniquer, or uniquest. Unique stands by itself. It is only one. There is no other. It is alone in the universe. Unique. So people say, my unique selling proposition is customer service. Well, you could say that as long as none of your competitors anywhere in the world offer any customer service. So whenever I see people say, well, what is your unique selling proposition? We say quality and service. Quality and service. I call these the parrot answers. Quality and service. Quality and service. Quality and service. Anybody who tells you that their competitive advantage or unique selling proposition is quality and service is a complete blithering idiot. And they're going to go bankrupt very quickly, and don't lend them any money because they're going to spend it all. The point is that quality and service are the parrot answers. They're meaningless unless none of your competition in the world have any quality or any service. It has to be unique. It has to be unique. It's only one. So what do you do as a small business? What do you have that is unique? Well, Tom Monahan came up with one thing that made him one of the richest men in the history of the world, is deliver pizzas in 30 minutes. And everything he did was focused on specializing in a certain number of pizzas, a certain type of market, a certain differentiator, and single-minded concentration on young people who were price sensitive, who wanted pizzas fast, who were near the pizza place that he bought, which is right next to the university. So his whole focus was on that customer base and get them fast, cheap pizzas, worth $1.8 billion. Not too bad for an insight. My point is, what is your unique selling proposition? Yours could be you. And in many service businesses, especially small businesses, it's you. You are the unique selling proposition. There is no other person like you. As I said earlier, be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. Well, in your business, sometimes it is you and your personality and your commitment to your customers and your skill and your ability and the speed and your sense of urgency and so on that makes you the one. And in most professional service operations, it is the unique person. It's the dentist that you go back to. It's the doctor that you go back to. It's the chiropractor that you go back to. It's the company that you go back to. So, but you must be clear. What is it that we offer, that I offer, that nobody else in the whole world can offer? And sometimes it's speed of operation. What is the unique selling proposition of a 7-Eleven or a fast food, not a fast food store, but a convenience store? What's the... Well, it is convenience. It's convenience because it is located so it's more convenient for people to pay them 25, 50% premiums for what they offer than to go all the way downtown to a shopping center. So that's the USP. The USP is location because the location makes it more convenient. Certainly not the selection. Jeez. Okay. And then where are you or could you be the best? Where are you or could you be the best? Remember this, every product or service starts off not very good. I was reading this article in Inc. magazine recently. It was very good. It told about 6 businesses that started on a kitchen table and became massive, multi-$100 million, even billion-dollar business. One of them was Sony. Sony's first product after World War II was a rice cooker that cooked rice and it clunked into inedible chunks. They had to throw it away. That was the beginning of Sony manufacturing, which is now one of the highest quality manufacturers in the world. Every single one of these people who started off with a business or service, it wasn't very good to start with. And they had to continually improve it and improve it and improve it and improve it by getting feedback until people started to say, geez, this is a great product. This is a great service. And it started to sell and sell and sell. So therefore, where could you be the best? What product or service area, what is it that you do where you could eventually be the best? This is one of the most important questions you ask. If you want to be financially independent, if you want to just get by and make a living and worry about money all your life, then you can be average. But if you want to be the best, if you want to really make the big bucks, then what you have to do is you have to be really good at doing something that customers really care about. So segmentation is who are those customers who most appreciate your area of superiority. Remember, there's thousands and millions of customers out there, but they're not all your customers. There's some customers, all they care about is low price. And those are not your customers. So don't even argue with them. Don't fight with them. Don't compete to try to get them. You don't want them anyway. They don't pay that well. And they're as disloyal as alley cats. So you don't even want people who are preoccupied with how cheap it is. They're just not a good choice. So say, who are the customers I want? They're the ones that really appreciate what I do and are willing to pay for it. What are their demographics? In other words, what is their age, their education, their income, their position in their family status, and so on? What are their psychographics? What do they want? What do they fear? What do they love? What do they care about? What will motivate them to buy? What are their needs? How would you describe your perfect customer? Here's an exercise for you, and I won't have you do it, but imagine that you are talking to somebody at the break, and the person says, you know, I know a lot of people in the city or in the country. Describe to me your perfect customer, and let me see if I know anybody who fits that profile. And the test is this. You have to now describe your perfect customer without mentioning your product or service or company. You can't mention your product or service. You have to say, well, he or she is a person who is in this situation in life, and they want this, and this is what they need, and this is what they care about, and this is their financial situation, but you cannot talk about your product or service. Try that just once. That's a great exercise because it really clarifies for you who you're selling to when you can describe the person without mentioning what you sell. And concentration is where you focus your time, money, and resources. Remember that you'll never have enough time and you'll never have enough money, so you've got to be focused. This is, by the way, how we teach people to double their income and double their time off by focusing and concentrating on those few areas where the greatest results are possible and don't do anything else. And as soon as a person starts doing that, they double their productivity, literally the first day. What are the best possible ways to contact your ideal customers? Very best marketing methods. What are the very best possible media? What are the most powerful appeals? Now this is important because we call this single attribute principle, and we'll talk about this later with regard to sales. But people buy because a particular appeal, a single unique appeal that you offer, not a whole variety of appeals. It's almost always one thing that will cause a particular customer to buy from you. Now, you may have 5 appeals, and each of those may appeal to different customer groups. But there's always one. Nobody says, well, I bought it because of this and this and this and this and this. They say, I bought it because of this. Now, if you want to do something really interesting in terms of market research, call your last 10 customers and ask them this question. This is a biggie, by the way. This can make you rich. Is ask them, first of all, call them up and say, thank you very much for using our services. We really appreciate it. We're really delighted. We know you could have used the services of lots of other people. Tell me, what was the one reason that caused you to buy from us rather than from someone else? Could you tell me what was the one reason? Don't say, why did you buy from us? It's too general a question and people will blather and so on. Just say, what was the one reason that caused you to buy from us rather than from someone else? Now here's what will happen. If you call 10 customers next Monday, 8 will give you the same reason. And then you'll find that none of your advertising or promotion contains that one reason. Is you've been trying to sell to people and they've been buying by accident. They've been buying in spite of your lousy advertising. They've been buying just because they were able to figure out that if they bought from you, they would get this particular thing they wanted. Once you know why the majority of people buy from you, you move that right into the center of all your promotion. And that's what you say first. That goes on your billboards, that goes on your internet site, it goes on your masthead, it goes on your business card, it goes everywhere. Is you just keep repeating to people, this is why people buy from us. If this is important to you, we're the ones to buy from. Really important exercise. It takes you a few minutes on the phone. They will all talk to you and they'll all give you the answer. And after you've done this about 10 or 20 times, you'll be astonished. You'll have the best market research. You could hire a company and pay them thousands. They could not give you a better focal point for your marketing than this exercise. So demographics. Here are the demographics: age, gender, income, education, occupation, location, family status. These are pretty easy things to measure. But here's why people buy. Psychographics. What are their goals and ambitions, and how can your product or service help them? What are their wants and needs and motivations? What will cause them to make the buying decision? What are their hopes and dreams and aspirations? What are their fears and doubts and worries that you can either take away or you can allay with your offering? What are the problems to be solved that your product or service solves for them? And so here's a great marketing plan. It attracts a steady stream of qualified prospects. It emphasizes your unique selling proposition throughout. And it positions your product as the first and best choice in the customer's mind. So the strategy, before I go here, now I want you to, okay. Geez, I like this stuff. This is my favorite stuff. And by the way, there's all kinds of exercises on video for you here. This is the most important thing. Okay. Now please begin the 4 principles of marketing strategy exercise, which starts on page 95. Woohoo! Jeez. Good glasses. So what is your area of specialization? Write it quickly. If you were starting over again today, where would you choose to specialize? What is your area of differentiation, your area of competitive advantage? In what way are your products or services superior to your competitors? And you must be specific here. What is your unique selling proposition? Segmentation. Who are the customers who can most benefit and pay for what you do best in your area of specialization? Concentration. On what customers should you focus your time, money, and efforts? 7, what are your 3 and best, most popular products and services based on the above? What do people really like when they buy it from you? What products, markets, or customers should you abandon or discontinue based on the above? This is one of the most important decisions you ever make, is what products and services or markets are you going to get out of? And finally, what one action are you going to take immediately? Please begin. All business is differentiation. All advertising and selling is differentiation. And the ultimate of differentiation is your unique selling proposition. The one thing you offer that is of great value to customers that they want and need and are willing to pay for, rather than that of any of your competitors. So now you're going to be a consultant to the people at your table, and you're going to answer the question, the one thing that you're going to do differently, but you're also going to tell your mastermind partners what exactly you offer that makes you different, superior, better, unique to your competition. And then if your people are not sure, help them with that. Help them, ask them. See if you can't help determine a unique selling proposition for the people at your table, because this can change the whole direction of your business. Please begin. This is a great question. If I could have your attention, please. Shh, 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 shh. A friend of mine has a PhD in marketing from the University of Georgia. There are complete departments at Harvard, Yale, Cornell, Stanford, and the biggest universities all on marketing. You can take a master's degree in marketing. You can take hundreds of hours, and there are libraries full of books on marketing. What I'm giving to you distilled is the essence of what you would learn in an entire university program. And so therefore we can't go into it in great depth, but you can revisit it over and over. These questions are the best questions I've ever derived in 25, 30 years of working with corporations, and many companies have actually transformed their businesses by answering one of these questions differently. So remember, the measure is what? What is your measure? It has to do with the cash register, has to do with the telephone. What is it? Is your telephone ringing? If your marketing is good, your telephone is ringing. People are throwing their checks and their credit cards at you to buy your product. And until that starts happening, then we need to just keep reworking our marketing. And I've had to do this, and you have to do it all the time as the market changes. Because what will cause people to buy today will be different from what will cause them to buy tomorrow. And you need to keep really, really sensitive to that. And the very best source of information is who? Your customers. Your customers will tell you enthusiastically what you need to do to please them. So, the strategy of preeminence, I notice it's not in your workbook, but this is a great concept from Jay Abraham, the marketing genius. He said, your goal is to position yourself in your market as the only choice for what you sell. The strategy of preeminence. It is a great concept. Now, look at Apple. They have structured their iPad in exactly the size, configuration, downloadable apps, and so on, so that there are many other companies coming out with different pads. You see that? But there's only the one iPad. No, and the betting is that nobody will ever catch Apple. They'll come up with cheaper ones and Me Too ones and different technology ones and so on, but Apple will lead, just like Apple's leading in the iPhone. Nobody will ever catch Apple with an iPhone with apps. So you want to be the only one in your market. So you have to think, what do I have to do so that when people think of my product or service, they think only of me. Think only of me. Well, the marketing mix. The marketing mix, again, is a major, major source of study, but it is so critical to your success. I'm going to walk through it, explain each of them to you, and then I'm going to give you an exercise. The marketing mix is any change in the mix can change your sales and your results. You can change, it's almost like cooking in the kitchen. You can change the amount of any ingredient or the ingredient itself, and it can change the taste of the entire dish. It's the same thing with the marketing mix. If you change any one of these things, it can have what they call an iteration effect. Like an Excel spreadsheet, you change one number, and it goes, it changes every other number in the mix. And whenever you are not selling a sufficient quantity, you need to go back and you need to be open to the possibility that you need to change in one of these 7 areas. And I have worked with thousands of companies and individual entrepreneurs, and sometimes a single change has transformed their business. Something that they hadn't even thought about, and I'll try to give you an example or two. Okay, here's the marketing mix. This is my little matrix. First of all, there's the product or service. What is it exactly that you sell in terms of what customers want and need and value? What is it that your product is? What is it that your product does? Many companies have made the decision that the product they're selling today, the crummy rice cooker from Sony's first run at the market, is not going to work. We can't build a business on a defective rice cooker, so they change to a different product. You have to be open to the possibility that your product has passed its date, its due date, its prime date, its use-by date. You have to be open to the possibility that the product or service you're selling is just never going to make it in today's market. It's just not that in demand, or not that popular, or not that good, or you can't make a profit on it. I've had worked with people who said, everybody wants this product, but they're only willing to pay this amount, and at that amount, I can't make any money at it. So it's not profitable anymore. It may have been profitable at one time. Anybody here wants some audio cassette programs? Talk to me later. I'll set you up. Have I got a deal for you? Okay. Number two is the price. You have to be willing to look at the price, how much you charge, how you discount, how you upsell, cross-sell, competitive pricing. Sometimes just changing the pricing in a particular way can double your sales. The third is your promotion, and the promotion has to do with both marketing and sales. We'll talk about sales in a later session, but you have to look at what you're doing to get people to come to you. And again, unless the phone is ringing, you have to go back and you have to keep working in this area, because there's no point in having everything right if nobody comes to your store, okay, if nobody calls you. The fourth is the place, is where do you offer your product or service. Look at the situation we see with Walmart. Right here in San Diego, we have a challenge because the unionized high-price industries are trying to keep Walmart out of San Diego. And they're weeping and crying that they don't pay enough and that Walmart puts little businesses out of business. And what they have found, it's totally false, is that wherever Walmart goes, all the companies around them thrive. Because Walmart acts as sort of like a sump pump, and it sucks traffic from all over the place. Smartest thing you can ever do. If somebody announces, they announce a Walmart in your community, if you're in retail business, get a piece of property right next to it and open up, and you'll be thriving. People will fight and kill. The value of the real estate around a Walmart location goes up 5 or 10 times because there is so much more new business. So in terms of the place that you locate, Walmart's very sensitive about place. What's the biggest restaurant operation in the world? McDonald's. Do you know what McDonald's is? Not a hamburger operation, it's a real estate operation. They're also the biggest real estate holders in the world because they buy every piece of land. And where do they buy the land? At the bomb site conjunction of massive traffic, whether it's downtown, out of town, on the interchanges, on the highways. And what they do is they just build a restaurant there which pays for the land, and they have owning billions and billions of dollars of prime real estate worldwide. It's paid for by hamburgers. Isn't that interesting? If you took away all of Walmart's hamburger joints today, they'd probably be worth more just for the raw land where they are. So the place is really important. Packaging. What does your packaging look like? I worked with companies that had, and by the way, I hate art people, commercial art people, because they'll recommend the most awful art for your product or service. They like black, and they like death, and they like picky, I call picky type that you can't read, red on black, that's invisible except to an ultrasound machine. And they, your packaging's got to be clean, clear, and bold. My packaging, by the way, when I was young, I looked at the packaging of the best companies in the world. My favorite was IBM, because I did so many talks for them. So I use IBM blue in almost everything I do. I use IBM red. I use white space, because IBM used lots of white space. Now why? Because IBM, best company in the world at that time, had spent a fortune determining the right colors, the right fonts, the right size of typeface, and everything else. So everything in my business was IBM. And even though it was selling different prices. So you'll notice that an enormous number of my books, tapes, courses, everything else are red, white, and blue. Or red with white, and red with blue, and blue with white and black. And anyway, because those are the great colors. So packaging is important, how you look on the outside. Remember, human beings are very visual. 95% of the first impact is visual. That's why I've worked with people, they say to me, I'd like to be more successful in business. I said, then you better dress a little bit better than you're dressing. You may think it's fine to dress like a slob or a bum, like you just fell off a watermelon truck. But what that does, as soon as a person sees you, they see no credibility. Can't trust this person. Can't give this person money. They look like a bum. People say, well, they shouldn't judge me by the way I look on the outside. Well, you judge everybody you meet in your whole life by the way they look on the outside, and nobody's supposed to judge you. Well, you need to get your head out of where it's stuck and join the real world, because people are extremely visual. Another thing is positioning, is what do people think about when they think about you? Do they think quality, friendly, warm, good service, intelligent, knowledgeable? What do they think about when they think about you? And finally, the last is people, is what kind of people do you have interacting with your customers? Remember, here's the question. What percentage of people's decision-making in buying is emotional? What percentage is rational or logical? No, just take a stab at it. It's okay. You won't be beaten or anything if you don't get it right. Answer, 100% emotional. People are 100% emotional. We justify emotionally on an instinct, and then we decide emotionally on an instinct, then we justify logically. We think of the reasons why we decided to buy that. And we think, and the reasons may not even be that good, but we thought emotionally. Most people, by the way, who are happily married, there was a connection, an electrical connection that took place between them and their spouse at the moment of meeting. And it took less than 2 or 3 seconds. And they've been married for 30 years. That's what happened with Barbara and I. And it's happened with lots of people that I know who've been happily married for a long time. They look, spark. Look back, the chemistry was there. Been married ever since. I mean, it may have taken a while to get to the church, but in other words, the decision was made emotionally in an instant, and the major decision of your life is made in an instant emotionally, so fast. So all of our buying decisions are made emotionally. By the way, going back to packaging, one of my friends here, I wanted to talk about this. I had a couple in my course, entrepreneurs. They owned their own business, and they operated out of a small office. And they came to me and they said, we have a real problem. It was a financial and wealth management service. And I said, what's the problem? They said, well, we have an office, and we have good advertising, and we have a good reputation, but then people come to our office to see us to consult for financial services, and 9 out of 10 walk away without buying, and they never come back. And we don't understand why that is. And I said, well, let me guess. You started off your business in your home, is that correct? Well, yeah, that's right, most people do. And then when you opened an office, you moved some old home furniture to the office. And that's what you've got in your office. And they said, how did you know that? I said, because entrepreneurs are always trying to save money. They're cheap. So they think they'll just take some used furniture from the house to the office. And she said, I told you that. And she elbowed him. He went like this. I said, so when people walk into your office, what they see is cheap, 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 undependable, lack of credibility. Invest your money here. Danger, danger, danger. Get out fast. That's all they see when they look at your office. And they said, well, but we give such good service. This is him. We give such good services. And she said, our office looks cheap and crummy because we just got old furniture, used furniture, blah, blah. I said, spend some money on your office. So they came back 90 days later, ta-da, and they came back and they're shining. I mean, they're shining. They're so happy. They said, you cannot believe it. We went and spent $4,000. We put brand new furniture in our reception area, changed the walls, put some beautiful pictures, fresh flowers, had piped in classical music. People came in, and the first impression was, whew, this is nice. Our closing ratio is up to 60% now. We've increased our income 500% by just changing the first impression, visual impression that people had when they walk into our office. Everything else we offer is the same, but the offices look beautiful. And there may be people in here who can identify with that. So what people see visually is very, very important to them. And remember this, don't do anything to exclude yourself out. And what counts? Everything counts. Everything counts. If you want people's money and business, everything counts. Everything you do or don't do counts. Nothing is neutral. All right. So, and finally, the people. Make sure that the people who interact with your customers, the emotional part, are very nice people. Hire only nice people. Don't ever allow anybody who doesn't have a great personality to talk to your clients. I've had people in my office that had terrible personalities. That if you want to kill a customer, pass the telephone to that person in my office, and that customer will never deal with you again. There's some people are just aggravating. And they may be cheap, but they're aggravating. So therefore, be very careful about your people. Now, the Parthenon principle says this. It says small improvements in multiple areas can result in large improvements in results. So in other words, if you make a little improvement in one area, you get that kind of an improvement. But if you make multiple improvements, it's called multivariate analysis. By the way, there's lots of work in the business schools on this, where instead of changing one thing, which is a common strategy, you change several things at a time. So let's say that this is the area of activity, and it's your product. And you decide to improve the quality of your product by 10% over the course of a year, and then the improvement overall in your company's business will be 1.10. In other words, you'll be 10% better. And then you improve the price by making it easier, smaller, breaking it up, combining it, and so on, by 10%. So the pricing is 10% more attractive. Then your total cumulative is 1.21, because it's 1.1 times 1.1. If your promotion is 10% better, so you get 10% better results, then it's 1.21 times 1.10, which is 1.33. If you improve the place of offering, so it's easier for people to get to your product or service, easier to service them, then you increase by 1.1, it's 1.46. If your packaging is 10% better, times 1.1, it's 1.61. If your positioning, the way people think about you, is better because you've done better marketing or PR, then it's 1.76. And if your people are 10% better, then it's 1.94. Here's the point, that by becoming just a tiny bit better in each of the 7 areas, the cumulative effect is a multiplier effect, almost a geometrical effect. You can double the size of your sales and profitability by becoming just a little better in each area. Now, if you became 20% better in each of those areas, you would triple or quadruple. But we're just saying 10% per annum better by thinking about it. That's less than 1% per month. That's actually 0.83% per month. Can you become less than 1% better per month in the critical things that determine your whole life? Say yes. Of course you can, just by thinking, how could we do this better? How could we make it more attractive to customers? So the product is, what do you sell? Describe it in terms of benefits and outcomes. What does it achieve, avoid, preserve? We talked about this. How does it change or improve the life of your customers? How does it transform the life of your customers? And how could you improve it? Second is the price. What does it cost? How do you charge? Some people can change their business by taking credit cards. Others will change their business by taking only cash. Some people will change their business by charging small payments over time. How does the customer pay and what means? Could there be a better way to charge or pay? Thinking about this is really important. Promotion. How do you reach your customers? How do you advertise? How do you market? Marketing, advertising, public relations, sales strategies and methods. What could you add, delete, improve, or increase to improve your promotion, to get your phone to ring more often? Advertising and promotion creates an immediate response. It causes the person to say, that's for me. Now this is really important. If your advertising does not trigger the response, that's for me, what we call a knee-jerk, I want that. Almost like the person's hands impulsively, uncontrollably reaches for the product. If it doesn't cause that reaction, you need to go back to work on your advertising, so when a person sees your advertisement, they say, that's for me. They say, I want that, I want that. If you're not triggering this, which is emotional, then we need to go back and work on it until we do. And it's amazing how many advertisements are so boring. You know, you read the advertisement and there's no mention of why one should ever buy that product. Sometimes they're what they call institutional, say, we have wonderful products and services that help lots of people all over the world, improving quality and life wherever we go. 2 pages, full color, large magazine, $50,000. And not a single word why anybody should pick up the phone and buy. Now, do you know what the most popular financial ad in the world is? Save money on your taxes. All they have to do is save money on your taxes or pay lower taxes. Anything that helps people to reduce their taxes will immediately get people's attention. I want that. That's for me. Because everybody hates taxes. For the whole history of the world, everybody hates taxes. For good reason. How do you do that? If you're good at advertisement, learn how to achieve this particular goal or change in your life. How do you do that? You want to read. How do they bring that about? Has anybody heard of Herbalife? Okay, Herbalife is $1 billion company worldwide. And they sell a weight loss product. You take this product and you lose weight. And you know what their promotion is? They have a little button that people wear, and it has a little red light that blinks in the middle, and it says, lose weight now, ask me how. $1 billion in sales. That's what a good advertisement is. Now, who's going to be appealed to by that ad? Your customers who want your area of specialization, weight loss, your area of differentiation now, area of segmentation, here's the person right here, and they get concentration. So people just go out and they walk around in public places with these little lights these little badges. Have you seen them? They go to supermarkets and they hang around the candy department, you know? When people come around and they stand there like this and people say, how do you do that? Well, that's exactly what I'd like to show you. You've got a couple of minutes. You'd like to lose weight quickly and keep it off forever? Who is overweight who doesn't want to lose weight quickly and keep it off forever? Are you with me so far? That causes the phone to ring. And if your advertisement doesn't trigger that response from your prospective customers, it's back to the drawing boards. This is an art, by the way. Advertising is a real art, but you have to get it to the point where it triggers these responses. The goal is to get customers to want to buy what you're selling. They want it. They want to reach it. They want to wrest it out of your hands. A place is, where do you offer your products or services? Where else could you offer your products or services? Who else could carry them? What other outlets? Retail, wholesale, and so on. How could you change or improve the location of your sales activities? Many businesses transform themselves by moving to a different location. Packaging. How does your product or service look to your customers? What visual impression do you make? What's the first visual impression? By the way, who are the best? By gender, this is a tough question. If you don't get this, you need to have your head beaten about the head and shoulders. Who are the best people to tell you if you have good marketing or good packaging? Women. Women are the best customers in the world. They can tell you in an instant if your packaging is attractive, if your message is attractive, if your name is attractive. Women have this incredible instinct for what will sell because they are the biggest and best buyers in America. They say women in America control 80% of the money in America and they know how to get their hands on the other 20% in a pinch. They make about 60, 70, 80% of the most important purchases in America, or they influence those purchases. And women are influenced intuitively, instinctively, emotionally. They're not influenced by rationality. There's something about the look and feel of your product or service that says, I want that, and you should have that. This is a better choice. If you notice how women will read the description of how a dish is prepared on a menu before they'll choose, man will just say, porterhouse, 24 ounces, I'll have that. They don't even read the description. Women will read the description, the mushroom reduction and the this and that and everything else and the porcino sauce, and then they'll decide. Anyway, so number 3, how could you improve your appearance? How could you improve the way your products or services look so that they're more attractive? Packaging, offices, as we talked about before, your staff. Do you know who is the biggest vendor of residential real estate in the world? Century 21. Century 21. And what does Century 21 have in common? Yellow jackets, yellow blazers. They decided right at the beginning, it was just an idea, to take all of these small real estate agencies and put them under one umbrella, but they need something in common. So they picked a color and a blazer that men and women could wear that everybody would know that's Century 21. Became the biggest in the world. That's not the main reason, but it was a contributing factor. And sales materials. Make sure that your sales materials are equal to or better in quality than any of your competitors. Go and find your competitors' sales materials. Go in and ask for them, ask them to mail it, look at them online, and then say, we've got to do better than this. We have to look better than our competitors, because if you look worse, what does the customer decide? Your product or service must be worse, because the way you're selling it is worse. This is real deep stuff, right? Okay. So positioning, how are you talked about or thought about by your customers? What do they say when you're not there? What words do you own in your customers' minds? What words do you own? My positioning as a speaker began 29 years ago, and I decided that what I wanted to own was high energy, high content. And it's never deviated. High energy, high content. So when people say, what kind of a speaker is Brian? All over the world, they say high energy, high content. I mean, he's got a lot of energy, and he really gives a lot of good information. And that has been solely responsible for my success. And of course, I produce books and tapes and courses and CDs and things like that, which are validations of the high content. But the critical thing is that position. Those are the words I want to own. And other people try to get those words from me, and they're not successful. What words would it be helpful for you to own? What words would you like people to say about you? And how could you organize your behavior so people say this after dealing with you? Nice person, highly qualified, expertise, good customer service. I mean, what do you want people to say? What were the best words that people could say when they think about you? And how can you get your customers to think of you this way? Customers are 100% emotional. How they feel determines their buying decisions. Every customer contact must be warm and friendly and positive. So people say that it makes them happy to come and buy from you. And 95% of your sales will be caused by you and your people. So people buy people, not products or services. They're available everywhere. What impression do you or your people make on your customers, and how could you change or improve this impression? We're going to do an exercise on this, which is, I could spend all day on it. But here's the Parthenon principle, which I wanted to show you. Here it is this is where you are today, your total business performance. Let's just say it's 1. It's just like a consumer price index, it's 1. And then you get 10% better in each critical area by focusing on that. And over the course of the next 12 months, your business performance is 2. And this is how companies get better. They get a little bit better in this area, and a little bit better in this area, and a little bit better in this area by thinking about it all the time. And as a result, the cumulative effect is enormous. Dell Computers, by the way, increased their sales and profitability as a multi-billion-dollar Fortune 500 company by 500% in 1 year. That's how they were able, even a huge company was able to bring about so many small changes that their sales and profitability went up 500% in a year. Unbelievable. Don't do it anymore, but there you have it. Okay, so now please begin with this exercise. And in this exercise, you're actually going to ask and answer these questions. Number 1 question is your product or service. What additions or changes could you make to your product or service offerings to make them more attractive? Number 2 is prices. Are your products or services priced properly for the existing market? How can you tell? People are buying them at those prices. How could you change your pricing to be more competitive? Promotion. How could you market or sell your products or services more effectively? Place. Where else and what way could you offer your products or services differently? Packaging. How could you make your offerings differently to make them more attractive and more desirable? Positioning. How could you position yourself more effectively? Who are the people? Who are the key people inside and outside your business? And then finally, what one action are you going to take immediately as a result of your answers to the questions above? Please begin. Okay, if I could have your attention, please. These are 2 great subjects. Marketing strategy and the marketing mix. These are the heart of the jelly donut. All of your sales comes from this. All of your advertising comes from this. All of your customer development, all of your success will come from this. If you have a great product or service, which you will have, you'll just continue to work on what you have, then the most important thing is to be able to convey that to other people so that they say, that's for me. I want that from you. And you can increase your sales by as much as 100% in a year, or 200% or 300% of the stories that I've told you are true stories, simply by getting it right. And then you can fulfill all of your dreams. So revisit these questions. Go back over them a few times. We'll go through them. Talk to the people around you. Talk to your spouse and your friends. Ask them for advice, because sometimes one little tweak can make all the difference.